Back in the day, a Super Nintendo game was $69.95. That's how much Secret of Mana cost when it first came out. Let's go pull this up. Inflation calculator. And
I did the exact same. Exactly.
And what year did Secret of Mana launch?
Was it
August 6, 1993. And we're going to go from August 1993, and we'll go to April of 2024. And we're going to say $69.95. If you were to buy that Super Nintendo game today, in today's currency, it'd be $151.47.
Here's the funny thing. You go to one of those vintage game stores, and it will be.
Dramatically higher, right? But the reason they were so expensive back then is because of physical distribution. That's the reason. We don't have that anymore. You don't have to make a cartridge. You don't have to put it on a store shelf. You don't have to physically ship it. You don't have to do any of that. We have digital distribution. It costs nothing. I have sold tens of thousands of copies of Heartbound, and it has cost us nothing. So when we're looking at this versus that, it doesn't make sense. We can't even make a comparison there.
I still think that obviously, like, making a game costs more money. And so, like, if you're paying developers, like, the cost of making a game is not entirely in distribution. It's also in development. It's in, you know, any sort of testing, paying for voice acting, anything like that. All of these things also come into play. Obviously, you don't have physical distribution, but you have a bunch of other things as well.
When I make a Steam key, and that key is for a $10 game, and then I sell that on Humble Bundle, what is the percentage that Steam takes from me? 0%. Steam only takes 30% of the sales you have on the Steam platform. Only on the Steam platform. Further than that, if you have trading cards for your game, which you always do, you make those yourself. Very easy.
He's exposing the banana game right now. That's what's going on. Yep. You also have 100x more people buying games now, though. If you have 100x more people buying games, then you also have to have more customer service. Now, I actually think that is the strongest argument against increasing the price of games. It's actually not inflation or physical goods. It's the amount of people that are buying them. Because if you can sell something 100 times, you know, you have to make this much money. But if you can sell something 1,000 times, you don't have to make that much money, right? You have to make a lot less. Or you don't have to make quite as much. No, that's definitely true.
The developer, the community market fee, that ain't 30%. That's a lot less than 30%.
Yeah.
Depending on how you strategize your sales, it's dramatically less than 30%. And Steam does not charge you for the distribution of your patches or the game itself outside of that 30% cut. Isn't that literally pennies, though? No, no. Very funny. So the way that I look at this right now is this doesn't make sense. We live in a time of digital distribution, and the way that I see sales of games is like this. If it's $1, people see it as shovelware. If it's $3, they see it as an arcade game. $5 is a premium arcade game. $10 is an indie game. $20 is a premium indie game. Anything anywhere from 10 to 20 is a premium indie game. $40 is a day game. $60 is AAA. And anything 70 or above is a scam.
Yeah. So what about $130 though? Where does that fall on the list? No, he definitely right about this, like 100%. Like the $70 games, here's the thing, is that a lot of the development costs that make it to where they have to charge $70 for a game are things that consumers don't see a lot of value in. That's the big problem. So you have these games that are like trying to focus on, you know, making things hyper realistic, or, you know, the way their loading screens work or something like that. And this is a focus for the developer. And they say, oh, well, we put all of this money into this, so the game has to be more money. But the real thing is that people don't give a shit about that. They don't care about that in the first place. They just wanted to play the game simply, and that's it. True, gaming's indie games. Yes, exactly. Who cares about popular actors as voice actors? Yes, that's not that important. So I think that a lot of the reasoning for why games are getting more expensive, I am of the mind that whenever we are very old, we will look back fondly on the time that games were only $100. Because inflation exists. It affects every single thing inside of the market. Everything in the market is affected by inflation, whether it's video games, fast food, cars, or gasoline. If you look over the course of time, the prices have gone up like this, and it has never gone down other than like a slight blip or something like that. So whenever I see this and I see games just getting more and more expensive, that's what's going to happen no matter what. But the truth is that there is a lot of psychology in pricing. There definitely is. And it's crazy how people see cheap games and they think the games are just bad.
General way that people feel about games that I've seen so far. Like, this is the limit. Anything above that, and people hate you. I don't know
if that's true. I actually don't think that's true. I think that's only true in the context of, like, the internet. Because if you look at how well these games sell, I think the games sell extremely well. So how do we know that $70 is actually a bad price point? I don't know. Look at COD, Ubisoft, Diablo 4. Yeah, exactly. Like, they just keep doing it. I would never buy 70 plus games. $70 plus for no microtransactions or pay to win is totally fine in my opinion. I think that there are a lot of games that, like, realistically people would pay more than $70 for. But the truth is that a lot of the ways that these companies create value and add things into the game are just simply not things that gamers care about. That's the biggest issue. They feel it's worth it or not. The problem is this. The ones saying this, unfortunately, don't matter. As awful as that is, because there's multitudes of people that are just buying the games anyway. An insane number of people that don't take any part in online discourse, don't take any part. These are the kind of guys that during 2021, 2022, they're thinking to themselves, man, whatever happened to BlizzCon? Well, they should do another one of those. I remember back in the day, they used to announce the expansions back then. Whatever happened to that? Shit, that's me. Yeah, exactly. They got no fucking idea because they're a fucking electrician. They're working, I don't know, they're a truck driver. They're not paying attention to this shit. Yeah, where's E3? Yeah, when are they going to do another E3? Got canceled 2 years ago? Ah, no, that's too bad. That's it. Most people don't care. Yeah, and that's the reason why these game companies are able to do this, is because there's just such a large amount of the audience that's uneducated, right? And not engaged. And also, like, I'm not using this as a pejorative, because these are people who just simply don't care. And I don't think they're obligated to care. In talking about $70 game, don't take any part in any of this, and just buy the $100+ copies every time. You will find very quickly that the double down versions of games, instead of the $70 version, the $110 version, you'll find that these ones sell more than these ones almost every time. The worst part about this, oh God. Wait, why? Because people are stupid. That's why. And I will give you one point on the graph that proves what he's saying. I don't know if he's going to use this as an example. It seems like he is not. Here's a great example. They have a trending list and the most popular games list for, I think it's in Japan, or it was some other place. And the Assassin's Creed $120 or $30 edition was selling at a higher point on the power ranking level than the base game. And this happened in like the past 2 months. There it is. The problem, I actually think, is not with the price. I think that if people are unhappy with the price of something, in a lot of cases, the solution actually isn't to reduce the price. It's to change the value proposition. People are unhappy with $70 games because they think they're only going to get 40 hours of entertainment out of them. I think people would be fine paying $70 for a Baldur's Gate 3 or an Elden Ring. I think so. I think they would be. I know some people are going to say no, but I think they're lying. I don't think that's true. I think that many people would be completely okay with it, or more, right? Exactly. And there are many games like this. The problem is not the price, it's the value. And the value for these high-end games does not match what they're asking for. And if it is a $70 game, it'll likely have MTX in it that will end up making it sell more than this every time. The reason that the business model works this way is because people spend money on it. Well, it's obvious, right? It's like everybody hates microtransactions, but they keep doing them. I wonder why that is. Why would this keep, how does this keep happening? What a fucking mystery. And I reject the shit out of it. Why do you think our game is $10 and it won't have a sequel and it won't have a prequel and it won't have chapters and it won't have DLC and it won't have microtransactions? That's why it's $10, because I hate this business model. I hate it. I think $70. And I don't want to perpetuate it, even if it would make me more money, because it's not good for the industry. So I can't convince people to stop buying games like this. Well, the problem is that, like, even if everybody on the internet does that, there's just, again, this like huge majority of people, like, and this is what happened. I apologize for doing something like, you know, crossing over into like political territory with this, But do you remember when everybody thought on the internet Bernie Sanders was going to just completely clean sweep the Democratic nomination? And then all of the boomers bust over from their church group, came and voted for Biden? Those boomers are buying $110 games. People on the internet have a massive, like echo chamber. There's a huge echo chamber on the internet. Everybody thinks this. No, everybody does not think this. This is a small contingency of people on the internet that think this.
So are sequels bad?
That's right.
No, but if making episodic content, it's not good for the game a lot of the times. I'll give you an example. Let's say that your base game is $10 and you release a DLC for $5, and then you release a DLC for $5.
Let's say you're Destiny 2.
DLC for $5. As a player, you bought it for $10, and a new DLC comes out 3 months later. It's only $5, so you buy it, and then another one 3 months later. Well, it's only $5, so you bought it, and then another one 3 months later. It's only $5, so you buy it, right? You just keep doing this. Now, let's say that you tell your friend, hey, man, this game is really good. And your friend's like, oh, how much was it? And you're like, oh, it's $10. And your friend goes to look at it, and he goes, that's not $10. Now you get a $25 game. So new players are de-incentivized from jumping in.
Yeah, and he worked at Blizzard, so he knows how this happened with WoW, too. Like, this is a big thing. Like, how many of you guys with WoW were like, I don't want to get into the game because there's like 4 expansions I need to buy? It's too much. Yeah, exactly.
It's a marketing strategy that preys on your inability to do math or inability to assign value over time. That's the issue. So, like, not a fan of it.
I don't even think that it's bad. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that strategy fundamentally, because if you create more content for the game, then I think that you're entitled to charge money for it. I just think that it basically increases the barrier to entry for a new person to become a fan of your game over time, which is bad. Just if you look at your game as an ecosystem, it's bad. Like, it just makes your game harder to approach as a new player. Like, I don't even need to get into the ethics for it. I think it's just, yeah, it's just bad. But they kill the old content? Oh, I don't know about that. I think it depends on the game. There's a lot that do that, though. We're aware of this tactic, but we still buy DLCs to support the great games. Yeah, no, I think it's okay. I think really this is a problem. It's kind of like an own goal that developers can do on themselves, where they make their game unapproachable by adding in so many extra things. Like, I think, you know, I was making the joke about Destiny. I'm going to pull it up real quick and show you guys how bad it is. So if I look at Destiny 2, content for this game: the Final Shape, Echo's Silver Bundle, Lightfall, the Witch Queen, Beyond the Light Pack, Shadowkeep Pack, Forsaken Pack, Triumphant Silver Pack, Throne of Anthon, add all DLC cart, $293. This is a crazy amount of money. And you have to keep in mind, I'm sure there's going to be some Destiny fans in chat that are going to say, well, you don't need to buy all of those. Okay, how do I know that? As a new prospective player with no knowledge or information about the topic, how do I know that? Yes, you do? Yeah, I don't know that, right? And so that's one of the big reasons why, like, for example, if Destiny 3 comes out, I'm going to play it. Fuck yeah, I'm going to play it. I want to play it. But Destiny 2 is just, it's so unapproachable. I'm not going to try to figure all this out. I barely did it for Final Fantasy XIV, and that was a huge headache in itself. Look at The Sims 4. Oh, it's a free game. Oh, man, that's bad. Oh, that's real bad. It's a free game? It's only $800. And so you keep in mind, like, so whenever I see a game like that, I immediately think to myself, well, I don't want to buy this. Like, I don't want to get into this. This is too much. How many of you guys have been like that with a game? It's like the moment that you see, like, okay, it's like, oh my God, now I have to think about this. It's too much.
If I'm going to release new content for Heartbound, I'm just going to patch it into the game, like I always have. No reason not to. What are your thoughts on expansions then for games? I only like expansions for live service games a lot of the times.
And one developer that did that was Capcom. Capcom patched a ton of new stuff into Monster Hunter Iceborne after the fact with no extra cost. They do have the game monetized in a few silly ways, but overall it's not pay to win or anything like that. So there are developers that do this. And Elden Ring did it as well. The Colosseum update.
I don't like expansions a lot of the time outside of that. I think they're kind of gross. Like, if you're doing a single player game, the only time I'd say an expansion makes sense is like if you're adding another campaign to it. Live service game does make sense for expansions because that ends up being kind of a good deal.
I think that expansions are okay. I think the problem is when I think that, again, it all goes back to the value proposition. Like, if the value proposition is bad and people don't like what they're getting out of the game, then they're going to be pissed. I don't think anybody was complaining about the DLC for Elden Ring or Witcher 3, but they would complain about DLC that's like super bare bones. So yeah, it's all about the value that people see in it.
It's pretty rare that single-player games get expansions that make sense. It's pretty rare. What about the infamous Oblivion Horse Armor DLC? I think it's ass, like, obviously. Not a fan of that. Risk of Rain? Risk of Rain wasn't an expansion. That was a totally new game. Risk of Rain to Risk of Rain 2 is a completely different video game. That's fine. What about Vampire Survivors? I actually don't like Vampire Survivors. I didn't like the fact that they went from a $3 game and then sold millions of copies and then made it $5. Like, why? Why did they do that? There's no reason for that shit. Makes no sense. Bro gets mad from $2 game to $5 game? Yeah. Do you know why? Because there's no reason for that. If you have a $3 game and it sells millions of copies, and then you change that price to $5, you have a small team that has more money than they'll ever need, and you've changed the price to $5 after it becomes popular. If I took my game that was $10 and I made it $12 after it became popular, would you feel good about that? You'd hate it. Just like I do. It's like, because there's no reason for it.
I think that it's okay for people to make money and try to do that. It's fine if they want to do that, as long as the game provides a good value. And I think that's the decision that everybody has to make. And it's the same as, like, also, if you're making a $3 game or a $5 game, I don't really think it's like that big of a deal. And if the price of something goes up slightly, I think that's reasonable, especially for the for inflation, for sure. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But if you're selling the same game for that much time and you're adding new content into it, I don't know. That's okay. Yeah, exactly.
You ever have to change prices is when there's dramatic shifts in the valuation of individual currencies. Currency exchange rates is the only time we have to raise prices, because sometimes currency exchange rates go crazy, which is exactly what happened with Argentina, right? Like, that sucks.
You've forgotten what it's like to be poor? I think that if you can't afford a $3 or a $5 game, and that's a big problem for you, that's the least problem in your life, realistically. Like, if you're actually getting mad about the price difference to that, like, let's be honest here, okay? What are you doing?
Like, suddenly, like, a currency just inflates to and is not worth anything anymore. Like, we have to take action. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
That's the only time that I think that's appropriate. That's the only time, and it's a global finance issue. Yeah, global finances go wacky. Bingo. Price your game in line with the gold standard? No, that's not really how that works. The way that you have to price your game, no matter what, man, is based on people's expendable income. You're making an entertainment piece. That's what that is. It's an entertainment piece.
I think that's the problem. The problem is that they're pricing it based off of what people can spend. That's why you have gacha games. It is insane.
So you have to price it based on people's expendable income inside of that area. Disposable income is what you're targeting. What about board member bonuses? Gross. Yeah, that's gross. No, you don't have to buy it. I price ours based on a Big Mac. It's about a Big Mac and a half. Yeah. You want people to buy... What is this? You want people to buy your product? Make it affordable. Bingo. Yes. Make it affordable for each region, too. Always make it affordable for each region. You have to think about what the economics are of each region that you're selling the game in.
It's actually crazy. I remember whenever I first learned about this was in, like, I think Mists of Pandaria. And I don't remember what year it is. You know, in general, I basically base things off of what WoW expansion it was in whenever I learned something or knew something or something happened. I remember in Mists of Pandaria, I learned about how much different the pricing was in, like, South America. And it was nuts, man. Holy fucking shit. It was over, like, it's like $100 at that point just to buy WoW comparatively. It was insane. Kind of hate that prices are so different. Yeah, and that's whenever I think that it might not have been then, but that's whenever I became aware that Blizzard changed their prices massively in those other places.
Are you in favor of microtransactions in the game if the game is free? I'm in favor of microtransactions if they are cosmetic in nature and nothing else. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for anything else. Cosmetics only.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way that most people see it. And there are games that function that way, like League of Legends or Valorant functions that way. Like, I know that you can buy champions, and that's technically not true, but functionally, if you're playing the game regularly, you're never going to have to spend money to not have access to a tool in the game. So, yeah, I mean, cosmetics and, like, microtransactions for free-to-play games, you can't have a free-to-play game if you don't have that, right? Unless you're making people watch ads.
Thanks all the art and animation for Harbon. I do the technical art, which is particle effects, shadows, lighting, stuff like that. Sony priced Helldivers to 0 in some reason? No, they didn't price Helldivers to 0 in some regions. They made it unpurchasable in some regions. Those are two very different things. Yeah. No, 0 would be free. Lol, same thing. No, 0 would be free.
Are people... I'm so happy to see this. What a stupid fucking thing to say. Selling it for $0 is the same thing as not selling it. I love seeing streamers get like, cause chatters will create like this, it's like the dumbest dichotomy that you can ever like, it's like, you can't even imagine that somebody could believe this. It's like, what? Like, wait, no. Like you gotta take a step back and just realize, did somebody really fucking say this shit? Yeah, I think he's right a lot about this stuff with like the games being expensive. I don't think that it's a problem that games are expensive. I think the big problem is the fact that games are not providing a value that people think that they should. I think that's the big issue. Whether a game is $3 or $5, $60 or $70, I think that the real reason why people get angry about it is the fact that the game quality is bad. And the game quality, it's like the trailers come out and the game doesn't really have any shit, sorry. The game doesn't have any sort of like real new interesting things. The gameplay is mediocre. And it's like, yeah, by the way, like we have all these really cool cutscenes, but there's hardly any gameplay. So that's really the issue. $1 per enjoyment, right? There's no possible value for a $130 game for me. Well, I'll tell you this, right? A lot of people that watch me have probably played WoW, right? Because I played WoW. I bet a lot of people that say that have spent over $130 collectively playing WoW. Again, it is not about the money. It's about the value proposition. And the value proposition is just fuck. That's all there is to it. How much do you think GTA 6 will be? I don't... I think that if they price it at $100... The worst thing about Grand Theft Auto 6 being priced at $100, theoretically, will be that other companies start trying to do the same thing. Because I think that if they price it at $100, a lot of people will still buy it. Like, a massive amount of people will still buy it. But it's like, once they do that, and they, you know, there's like a phrase to say, break the ice, then you're going to see everybody else doing the same thing. I think that something being overpriced...
You'd hate it.
Like, I think especially, this is like an especially big thing with regional pricing that you just can't take this into consideration. But I'm talking about like in Western first world countries. The main reason why people don't want to spend money on these games and buy these expensive games is because the value is not there. And also, that's only the people on the internet. Because if you look at the top selling charts in a lot of these games, it seems like these games are selling extremely well. Even the $110 versions are selling more than the $70 ones. How the fuck does this happen? I don't even know.